Hi, everybody. This is Tor Ståhli, and I'm going to do a screencast about language translation. So, what I want to do is I want to show you how you can take advantage of a Python library that uses Google Translate API. It's called Google Trans, and we can do a regular pip install to get this working. So what I have here is a Jupyter notebook running in Colab, which is Google's repositories for any deep learning, machine learning, any Python notebooks you want to work with. You can have access to this free by simply having a Google account. So what I want to do is I want to take a little time and step through how you can use this Google Translate API and do some fun stuff. Okay, so what I want to do now is show you how you can get started with Google Colab. First thing you need to do is search for it, Colab, and it takes you here, and you choose Google Colab, and initially you get this screen, which is welcome to collaboratory, blah, blah, blah. So this is where you're going to be creating your notebooks. So there's like three sections here. One is the table of content. One is for code snippets, and files is referring back to your files that you have in Google Drive. So if you look a little bit at the table of contents here, there is a Getting Started tab, which you probably want to check out because it has all kinds of information how to create one of these notebooks and how to write some code in different cells. So if you look here, there's also a guide to Markdown, which you probably should get familiar with because chances are in your notebooks, you want to write some comments or some headers, or you want to insert a picture, what have you. So if you click on this, Getting Started with Markdown, you can see all this stuff here is written in Markdown. And you can check out this stuff to see how it's created. If I double click in this cell, you can see this is the code that was used to create all this stuff. So if you notice a couple of things, there is a header up here. Notice it has these two pound signs, and that indicates the like an H2. If it's one, if you change it to say a 1 here and hit Shift Enter, or you can see without hitting Shift Enter. Shift Enter, by the way, is to execute the code cell. Here, notice it got a little larger. Another thing I can do, there are some things you can do automatically up here by simply selecting it. So you can either type it in or you can actually click, for example, bold. It puts like these two stars on each side and it gets bolded. I can make it italic, 3 stars, bolded and italic. Or, of course, I don't have to use those. I can just type it in myself. So that's one way you can do it. I hit Shift Enter to execute the cell. And there's all kinds of stuff. For example, there's some you can show some code snippets down here. In order to do that, if I was going to put a code snippet in here, I can put a little tilde here and say hello and another tilde sign like so, and hit Shift Enter. And notice it looks like it's code snippet right there by doing those things. So you can actually show pieces of code in between. There's also a Latex Equations you can create. So there's a few things you should be kind of aware of. There's strike throughs, there's all kinds of stuff. So make sure you check that out when you start creating your notebook so you can get a nicer interface in your notebook that has explanations and so forth. There's also code snippets where you can do all kinds of actions with Python script. And you can see it down here. Now, if you're going to ever use one of these, that's a good place to go. Finally, there's a files one that has folders, and it refers back to your Google Drive. So what I can do is there's a code and a text cell I can create here. If I want to create a code cell, I can do it so. And then I can say, hey, mount my drive. And it creates the necessary Python script in order for me to mount the drive here. And if I execute this, you can see Okay, it's already mounted, so this was not a good example. I will have to show it later on when it's not mounted, how that works. But anyway, you can mount your drive here, and therefore when it's mounted, you can see it will look something like this, and you have all your folders and all your files